Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon video. So today is going to be unboxing. So I am going to be doing 4 boxes of the latest booster set, which is going to be Special Booster 2.0, which as we know is going to be all of BT18 and half of BT19. So this set is a larger set to try to catch us up all the way to Japan. So the pull rates that we're expected to see here, I'm likely to guess that Bandai is going to do the exact same pull rates for Special Booster 2.5, which I think the pull rates from what we've been seeing and hearing online is actually pretty decent. So I'll go and open up one box relatively slow, as I usually do. Then the others, I'm going to speed it up a little bit, because we still should have seen the vast majority of the cards, especially on the lower rarities. I do think that based on the pull rates, just as a little bit of a preface, 10 super rares per box is definitely really good, and 2 alt arts or a third alt art and a secret is definitely really generous. This is going to allow us to have more easier access at the super rares at the cost of some rares. So I do also want to kind of show off something that I got, and I did end up getting a Liberator deck case 3D printed, so it's just pretty cool at being able to store your cards. So it's just a nice little extra thing that I kind of just wanted to show off before we actually get into opening up the booster boxes. So I'll put the others away. These are pre-slitted, so I don't have to waste a whole bunch of time trying to dig into them. So let's just dive in and we can see exactly what we're going to get. I do also have to preface this as I'm prepping box number 1 that apparently in the case that I purchased from, there was a lottery card inside of that, so I'm not likely to get a lottery card, just as a heads up. If you're expecting this booster box opening to have a lottery card, that's not necessarily going to happen unless the case actually has a extra lottery card. So let's just see what we get. Out of one single booster box, I do have to say that we do get 2 box toppers. The lucky pack is going to be of any super or secret rare inside of the set, so we technically have the chance to get even more than what is normally going to be inside of the set in terms of overall pull rates. So it just makes the set even more generous, on top of the fact that we do get a box topper, which is going to be of the Tamers. So just your standard box topper fanfare. Then let's just dive right into the opening, as I kind of just yap about my thoughts about the set. So when it comes to this set in general, I think that this set is actually pretty well designed and constructed, because there's a lot of decks that you could work towards when it comes to actually being a newer player to try to invest in a deck. Because I've heard the question a lot on the fact that newer players have harder times starting this type of a game, because usually what Bandai does with their overall set design is they like to split decks up. So they'll have one wave of support to try to start the deck in the first appearance of it, and then in the other sets they'll sprinkle in a little bit of extra support or just have the secondary evolution line, thus splitting up the deck. This set in particular actually does a good job at making sure that you have as many playable decks out of the box as you possibly could. Obviously, we have all of the hybrid stuff from BT18. Then BT18 also started some Liberator stuff like Royal Bases, and it also started some of the Aqua stuff. So the fact that we knew in BT19 that the Aqua stuff and the Royal Bases, just as an example, was split up, they decided to put it all together. The same is true for Lucimon, Millenniumon, Lord Nightmon, and Dynasmon. So it's really nice to see that they're trying to make at least this type of a set as accessible as possible in terms of just limiting the amount of extra purchases that you would need. So that's kind of nice. And I think the cards in the set, they're not necessarily too bad either in terms of overall power level. I think that this set and a lot of Block 4 is trying to depower the game, or just maintain a specific power level or threshold. And I think that compared to Block 3 definitely power crept the game to an unhealthy state, and we're probably just one ban and restriction list away from the game actually being, well, in a pretty good and healthy state overall, especially since the majority of these cards aren't necessarily trying to power spike the game. Obviously, there's some really good powerful cards and really good generic cards, but it's not trying on purpose to, like, increase the overall power threshold of where the game currently is compared to where it once was. So if I had to say, like, power level wise, Block 4 so far kind of feels like Block 2, which at the end of Block 2 they really understood the power level and dynamic of the game, and it definitely feels like they're playing more towards that overall strength and that overall design. So I think that it's going to be a pretty good block just from the onset. And like I said, we're literally just like one ban and restriction list away from getting rid of a lot of problematic cards. And once those problematic cards are gone, then I think that it'll allow decks and cards from Block 4 to be able to flourish a little bit better. Because right now, if we look at the Japanese meta and the Japanese data, it doesn't necessarily look super hot for a lot of, like, new Block 4 stuff, because a lot of the decks that people are still playing are Block 3, or the majority of the cards from the new decks that they're playing are, well, from Block 3. So it's definitely showing that Block 3 was a huge power spike as a result. That's not saying that cards from other decks and other sets weren't necessarily viable. It just means that Block 3 just did more damage compared to actually, like, trying to make the game in a better state, supporting all of the older decks. And it feels like even just from this, they do have some support for some older decks as well that you could use to try to make some of those cards more viable and, you know, interesting. So I do like the overall design shifts and changes that they're doing with the game to make it not only just more accessible with this type of a pull rate for what they're trying to do here, but it gives me a lot of hope for unification. Because unification, after Special Booster 2.0, as of BT20, which should come out in, like, the spring summertime, we'll be 100% caught up with Japan. And I think, like, Bandai really has to prove themselves when it comes to unification in order to, like, cement the game more solidly than it's ever been before. Because the game has been, sales-wise, pretty decent, but as of late, sales haven't necessarily been that great because of just some really incredibly poor decisions that Bandai has made. RB1 is a known failure, so RB1 did a lot of damage to the sales, and it's still damaging the game even now in post because of just how bad RB1 did. I can't actually, like, stress how bad it did, and there's not necessarily, like, that good of sales data that I could refer to, but just looking at the timeline of events, RB1 and the amount of trust that it hurt with the stores really shook their confidence in the game overall, and that's why we've been having some supply shortages, is because stores are ordering less. On top of, like, your usual distribution issues, because, you know, Bandai still hasn't worked out all of their distribution issues, not only just with the US, but with other areas, because I did hear some rumors that Special Booster 2.0 was not meeting the full allocations that stores generally order. So there definitely was something slightly funky going on with that. And then obviously it got delayed in certain territories, which always sucks. That might be the reason why they decided to, like, label the celebration events, which is basically pre-release, as a celebration event, to kind of give them that buffer for that error when it comes to how pre-releases work and what they generally mean. The only downside of that is stores kind of have to run the celebration event before they actually sell boosters, because they actually need the boosters to be able to run this celebration event. So that's kind of like the whole shtick with that. But that's just my speculation. So at least they're trying to, like, put themselves in a better position for where they currently are and where they know they currently are. And I think like part of some of the issues with Digimon isn't necessarily specifically to Digimon. Bandai, for whatever reason, just really hates Digimon. It feels like, I know they don't exactly hate Digimon. They like making money, and Digimon makes them a decent amount of money. Digimon right now is their like second or third best card game, which when they're planning on running 7 is actually a pretty big deal, because 7 TCGs is a lot. And Bandai running 7 TCGs, being Bandai, means that they want as much control as they possibly can. So when it comes to their TCGs, this might be why like allocations are harder, and why some of the stuff is the way it is because they like doing everything in-house. I don't know if they actually like design or playtest in-house. They could easily outsource that. And I think that they probably have and did used to outsource it to a degree. And then they had a very small team be able to clean up some of those designs, and they playtested it loosely, which is why certain cards kind of fly under the radar. Because like there's no reason why certain cards just needed to get printed the way they get printed. But they do, and there's nothing we could really do to stop it, and I don't necessarily think that issue is going to go away. But they are seeming to try to do a better job at managing just how the card game is flowing overall, and I think like Black 4 with the whole tie-in to Liberators is a really good start to that. I think like if they try to push Liberators more into multimedia, like a Liberators video game would probably be really good, and a Liberators anime also would be really good. I think like they could kind of turn Digimon into like a Pokemon-esque kind of a thing, because the one thing that Pokemon does insanely well is the multimedia aspect. So like Pokemon is a multimedia machine, and the fact that Bandai just doesn't care enough to try to push, Digimon into that same multimedia level franchise is partially why it's not doing as well as it could, and why Bandai feels like the game, or like Digimon as an IP, is just being held back. They kind of do it with Gundam, but Gundam is more of a like hardcore kind of a thing. And they do it with their anime, but like that's just more licensing than anything. Which they are cutting back on some of their licensing based on what they were announcing at New York Comic Con or something like that. They were cutting a lot of games and a lot of projects, so Bandai is in a fine position, I'd say, but they definitely could be better if they're playing their cards right, and Bandai, as a company, likes to play things as safe as humanly possible. And sometimes playing things too safe isn't necessarily what's actually good for the game, or any game, especially one that you're actually trying to grow and foster a good community for. Thankfully, Digimon's been around long enough where it's not necessarily that hard to get into the game, and a set like this just makes it that much easier to be able to get into the game. So I think like they're making all of the right steps. It's just they have to keep making the right steps and follow the path that they're trying to form for themselves, instead of just kind of like pussyfooting things and just half-heartedly doing it after having a good success a total of one time. So it'll be interesting to see how things are going to actually play out when it comes to how not only just this set is going to work, but unification as a whole. So let's just get into the box toppers. I'm not going to wait to the end like I usually do to kind of open up the box toppers. So the box toppers, you get a common or uncommon that's in foil. So that's kind of where these are going to be. We kind of saw them experimenting that with BT17. And then you get a alt art of the Tamer. So pretty cool there. And then I'll open up this lucky pack as well, just to see what this box actually held. So my lucky pack was another Millenniumon, so that's kind of cool. So you can kind of see, like, based on all of the pull rates, just what you're reasonably expected to see. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got 11 super rares, unless one of these is not actually super rare and I'm just being absolutely silly. Dustmon's a super rare. No, all of these should be super rares. Um, and then, or is Dynus X? Yeah, no, he's a super rare. All right, so I did get I guess a slightly on the higher side of super rares. And then here's the 12th one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So yeah, I got 12 super rares, and then I got 1 secret rare and 2 alt arts. So that's kind of like just again a 1 booster box scenario, just to kind of see what a booster box generally holds. So after I clean this up, I'll be breezing over the others just to kind of see what the other boxes hold in comparison to this. So that way you could kind of see off of multiple booster boxes, you could guesstimate what your average is going to look like. Okay, so box 2 didn't seem like it was that bad. It's interesting that the box toppers, I guess, just don't always come with a alt art of the tamers. I think it is just any BT19 common or uncommon. Kind of interesting that I got the same one twice. And then maybe it is just select cards that got like either an extended art version or just the tamer. So interesting to note there. Did not actually know that. But in terms of overall super rares, outside of the one from the Lucky Pack, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I got 11 super rares again, 2 alts, and 1 secret. So pretty decent, I'm not gonna lie. That means, like, if I do the math, every other pack is gonna have basically a hit inside of it. So that's pretty good from an opening perspective. It means that the set actually has a good open feel, which is something that's very important, especially on the more casual level, because the better a box feels to open and the more rewarding it feels to open, the more it'll generally get opened because it feels good, which is generally good for the game and good for the sales overall. So it'll be interesting to see and talk to the stores as far as like how sales of this type of set is going to be doing. We're not going to get exact numbers, but I at least hope that this gives stores a little bit more confidence in the game rather than just trying to, like, you know, act on price memory based on the poor performance of RB1 that impacted and price spiked the rest of the game as of BT16 forward, because not only were those sets just more powerful, but those sets were more expensive because not a lot of stores ordered them, so there was just less to go around. So let's see if box 3 does any better than the other two. All right, so box 3 wasn't too bad. I don't know why I keep seeing Vespamon. That's interesting. I honestly don't know if it's going to be any other card. I hope to find out, but the other box topper definitely is changing. And it's cool that I got a bonus secret rare in this just because of the lucky pack. So that means out of this box, I did see technically a higher amount of like alt arts and secrets because of my lucky pack. So I got, I think it should still be the same ratios as before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I got 10 this time. So that's kind of interesting to note, considering I still got the same amount of like hits per box, but there was just one less super rare per box. So that's definitely something interesting to note, is you'll either have 11 or 10. It doesn't necessarily seem like it's like hard locked to either number, like it might seem, and then that's kind of where the lucky pack kind of comes in to help try to like fill in some extra gaps. So pretty cool stuff there. So I do have one more box to go over before looking at basically the bigger picture and giving my final thoughts on the set. Let's see how this box did overall. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is another box where it was 10 super rares. So I had 2 that had 11 and 2 that had 10. And it was interesting to note that the ones that had 10 also had Zed Millenniumon, and I didn't pull a Zed Millenniumon. So I'm not saying that's like any indicative of anything. Obviously, in a case situation, things are going to be looking a little bit differently, but it is just something to kind of note. Because sometimes I do like to find like these weird little correlations or collations based on what I can reasonably observe. So overall, not necessarily too bad. It definitely is a set because it's larger. You're going to want to try to order more of it. So that way you could try to get all of the cards, just because the pull rates are going to be a little bit harder across the field when it comes to some of the lower rarity cards, just because of the dilution of just the set being a bigger set in general. All right. So now we could see exactly what I ended up pulling. So when it comes to the big chase cards, I got three Susanomons, correction, three Susano, two Zed, and one Satan mode. So I didn't exactly get a whole lot of Satan mode, but the fact that I almost have a full playset of Susano definitely feels pretty good. Considering compared to all three, I think Susano is easily the strongest one. Out of playable decks, maybe Millenniumon actually can compete and be good enough when it comes to its actual deck. Same thing with Lucifermon. I think like both of them are on the slower side, and like at least Susanomon's an ace, so it could be used like generically. So it at least has that going for it when it comes to the overall secrets. Then going just kind of in a random order, I did end up getting a full playset of Queen Beemon, so that's cool. I did get two Tiger Vestmons. I did get three Millenniumon, and then I ended up getting two Zed Millenniumon, or Moon Millenniumon. Then just what are some other random stuff? So I only got two of the Ryugamon. I did end up getting four Duskmon. I got three Kumas, two Beetles, three Kazes, two Magnagarurumons, and two Emperor Greymons. I think the only card that I didn't actually get multiple copies of is probably one of the most important cards in the entire set, which is going to be Lord Nightmon X Antibody. And as far as just some of the other stuff, I did get a full playset of Dynas Ace. Don't need to really get and invest any more into that. But if I was trying to build Dynasmon, I would probably need more Dynasmon X's. And then with the Lord Knights, I also only got two Lord Nightmon Aces. Not that that card's actually used in the Lord Nightmon deck, but it could be. And then when it comes to the Lucimons, I got two Chaos Modes and two X Antibodies, and then I only got two Shadow Seraphi. So out of all of, like, the more important cards, I didn't exactly get, you know, the perfect dream of getting a full playset out of 4 boxes, but that's just the way it is when you're opening up packs. But I hope you enjoyed this video and found my polls to be an insight to be enjoyable. And if you like what you see here, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really does help support the channel. And if you want more content, then don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when my uploads get, uploaded next. And I hope to see you all in the next video.